One of my clients recently shared this in my Better Beyond Divorce community, and I just had to share it with you guys here on YouTube as well because it's so valuable. So I'm really grateful that he gave me his permission to do so. So his post started with these words: I had a positive interaction with my wife on Wednesday, which was a huge win considering our rocky history since the separation. In this video, I'm going to share with you the 4 specific actions that this man describes himself taking that changed the dynamic with his ex-wife, who was previously really hostile and aggressive. They had a really difficult separation. And more importantly than her reaction, the change in her with this was the change in him that came as he was able to take these actions. The end of his post reads, overall, I feel better than I have in months. Letting go and moving forward has made me more attractive in her eyes and boosted my confidence. I'm no longer playing the villain in her story, and focusing on myself has been a game changer. No matter how things turn out, I'm going to be okay. I want you guys to have that feeling too. So let's dive in and look at the 4 things that this man did to change the dynamic and have positive interactions with his ex-wife. So each of these 4 things are things that this man has done differently just in the last 2 weeks since he joined my Better Beyond Divorce program. So the first thing that he did is no contact. He said, no contact works. She opened up about struggling emotionally, realizing her decision hasn't panned out as expected. Okay, now, no contact, if you guys read a lot of things about no contact or watch videos, they say like do it for a month or do it for 2 months or 3. Obviously, he's just doing it for 2 weeks and it's not a strict no contact because he's having an interaction with this woman. However, what he's talking about here is changing the way he's communicating, right? He's stopping actions like reaching out in desperation. He's stopping reaching out in anger. He's stopped trying to prove anything to her or change her mind. He's taken these 2 weeks to focus on himself, to figure out what he's feeling and why and what he needs to heal. And in that time, he's stopped trying to get her validation, trying to change her mind, trying to get her to explain why. He's let all of that kind of communication go. And the result has been that after 2 weeks without all of that pressure from him, without him asking and kind of demanding that she support him emotionally or fix what he's feeling, it actually created space for her to open up about what she is experiencing. Now, it does not matter if these two ever reconcile their marriage or if they move on to get divorced. This shift is going to help them. This is especially important when children are involved. If there is a lack of safety and trust between you and your ex-wife or your soon-to-be ex-wife, it's going to impact your children. So being able to create an environment where you can be emotionally honest with each other, or at the very least emotionally safe with each other, is of critical importance, especially if you have children. Even if you don't have kids, this is going to make a huge difference when it comes time to actually negotiate the financial outcomes in the divorce. So many legal conflicts and mediations escalate because there is a complete lack of trust, and both partners feel so threatened by the other and so easily triggered into anxiety or anger that they can't communicate. So what he's done here, right, it's not that it's his job to do no contact so she feels safe enough to talk to him about her struggles, or even that he should care about her struggles, right? If she's the one who chose this divorce and he didn't want it, it's not about making her feel better. It is about the simple fact that if your ex is in a calmer, grounded emotional state when she talks to you, it's going to be easier to negotiate with her, and it's going to be far, far better for your children. The second thing that he did differently in 2 weeks was join my coaching program, Better Beyond Divorce. He calls it proactive healing. She saw a charge for Rachael Sloan coaching and was surprised I'm actively working on my healing, which shifted her attitude from seeing me as a villain to someone accountable. Right? And so this one is a little more directly about changing how she sees him. And now I'll warn you that this will not work in every case. It really depends on what the conflicts were in your marriage. Sometimes if there's been a lot of animosity and a loss of trust between the two of you, if she's really angry or feels like you've been controlling or manipulative, sometimes she'll see your actual act of getting help as another attempt to manipulate her. And that can especially be true if you've really been trying to change her mind or get her to see you differently and kind of trying to push that on her. So what I think is really interesting about what this man did was he's doing the proactive healing while being in no contact with her, right? So he actually is focusing on healing for himself. He's not doing my program so that she sees it and changes her mind and decides she wants to be with him. And he's not doing it and calling her up and saying, hey, this is what I'm doing. Hey, this is what I'm learning. Hey, this is how I'm changing. He just did it for himself. and she's noticing that. So that difference is really important. Right? He is shifting the dynamic, the type of interaction he's having with his soon-to-be ex-wife from a really negative, hostile, aggressive interaction to something more positive and rational and calm, because he actually genuinely is focusing on himself and his own healing. Right? He's doing it for the right reasons, and it's improving his relationship with her as a side effect. It's not his core motivation. The third thing he's doing is actively planning for his own future. Right? And this came up in the interaction. He says, I mentioned my post-divorce plans and upgrades to the house, which showing her I'm not miserable without her. This seemed to catch her off guard. Again, guys, this is a fine line. So some of you who are watching this might be really actively trying to get your separated wife to take you back, right? To give you a chance to repair the marriage. If you start dropping hints about your future plans and they're not genuine, she's going to be able to tell. So keep in mind that 80% or more of human communication is nonverbal. It is the subtle body language, eye contact, facial expressions, changes in our tone of voice. So if you are talking about your future divorce plans and it's a lie and you're only doing it to try to convince her to be back with you, it's not going to have the effect that it did for this man. Right? Once again, he's genuinely taking charge of his own healing. He's saying, okay, I have to accept this and I have to find a way to move forward. So I'm going to start taking care of myself. I'm going to get help with my own healing, and I'm going to start thinking about what I'm going to do next. Right? And when that comes up in a conversation, it does change the dynamic with her, because now, again, he's no longer in that position where he's pushing or begging or pleading or demanding or blaming. Right? He's just genuinely doing the work to move on with his life. And that is going to completely shift the dynamic in his relationship with her. The fourth thing that he did was offering help. Asking if she needed anything left her speechless. She probably wondered who this new proactive guy was. And I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, you guys, but again, this works because of the state this man is in. Right? He's asking if she needs anything from a calm, grounded nervous system state. He's not asking it out of anxiety, desperation, frustration, anger, fear. Right? It is just a genuine curiosity. What I want to point out, all of these things that he did, they are really helpful and effective ways to shift your dynamic, shift your relationship with her. But they all are helping because of just one thing. Because he actually has spent the last 2 weeks focusing on himself, his own healing, and moving forward from this separation. And if he did any of these things or all of these things without that, coming still from a place of desperation and need and codependency, it wouldn't have shifted the dynamic with her. If anything, it might have made that animosity between them or the distance between them stronger. So coming back to how he finishes this post, right? Look at what he says in those last 2 lines. Focusing on myself has been a game changer. No matter how things turn out, I'm going to be okay. And when you're in that place where your brain is still really holding on to hope and wondering how you can get her back, this is the part that's so hard to see, but it's so important to start to understand, right? Look at what this man has just shown us, right? What he's showing us is that when you come from a place where you're truly focused on your own healing, your nervous system calms down. When your nervous system calms down, you're able to take steps to move forward. When you do that and she sees it, it changes the relationship between you in a positive way, because it means that you have stepped out of old cycles, old patterns, the same old cycles and patterns that led to the disconnect between you that led to divorce. If there's going to be any chance at reconciliation, you're not going back to the old relationship. You have to move forward into a new and different one, which means you have to change and she has to change. And if you're not going to reconcile, but you want to have a relatively amicable divorce or a healthy co-parenting relationship, then once again, you have to break those old cycles. Right? You have to let what was go and start moving forward, no matter what you want the outcome to be. And that is what this man has embraced and described so beautifully here in this post. He spent the last 2 weeks taking a step back, saying, I'm going to stop fighting for this marriage. I'm going to stop pleading with this woman, and I am going to start working on me. I'm going to look at what I need. And when he did that, he got his own emotions under control. He got his own nervous system calm and grounded, and it has completely transformed his interactions with his soon-to-be ex-wife. So if you would like some support in how to do that, how to actually calm your nervous system and get out of that codependent cycle where you're just always anxious or angry, because right, anxious and angry, that's fight or flight. And if you're in fight or flight, you're not going to be able to change these old patterns. Right? So how can you expect to have a more positive relationship or more positive interactions with your ex-wife if you're stuck in that fight or flight response? Right? It can't happen. So if you'd like some support on getting out of fight or flight so you can do the same things that this man is describing and have similar outcomes, come with me into my free masterclass. It's called How to Take Back Control of Your Life After Divorce, and it is all about how to get yourself out of anger, anxiety, and fear so that you can show up in this calm, grounded way for yourself first and also for your relationship with her.